Hello, welcome to the Fair Deal Democrats podcast. My name is Josh Kilroy. I'm a longtime political consultant and activist. The issue we're going to discuss today is another Trump travesty, but this one it attracted a little bit of news about a month ago and has quickly faded from view. I think this is a mistake. I think this is one of the issues that we need to keep our eyes on. I'm going to talk a little bit about it today. And the issue specifically was the DOGE's sharing of Social Security records with third-party third-party interests last year, and it's a shocking story. The Justice Department just last month was forced in a court filing to amend previous testimony by Social Security Administration officials. So they filed this in court, and they acknowledged for the first time something that many people, myself included, had long suspected, which was that DOGE employees accessed Social Security data and then shared that data with third parties. So there's been a lot of denial, but now they've been forced to admit that, what we long suspected. Just to go back a little bit and share some of the background of this story. Right after Trump was inaugurated, DOGE representatives began showing up at federal agencies across Washington and demanding access to their information systems. DOGE, as you know, stands for the Department of Government Efficiency, and it was an agency, so to speak, a department headed by Elon Musk, even though he had not undergone any Senate confirmation hearings, didn't have a formal title of any sort, later denied having an active position, but was in fact the head of DOGE, as we all remember. He showed up after giving Trump millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in the 2024 elections. He was rewarded by being given this position. He gained access to not only our information, but he was given essentially the authority to question and investigate all federal employees. At one point, he sent an email to each federal employee demanding that they justify their position by showing how they spend their times. So as part of this massive overreach by this pseudo department, DOGE representatives became embedded in federal agencies across Washington and had access to all of this data. At the Social Security Administration, which will be focused today, about 10 DOGE staffers were embedded and given access to the sensitive databases, which includes records that has our name, our Social Security number, parents' names, citizen status, a whole addresses, all of that, all the things that are most private. And so they showed up, they demanded access. They moved without working with the career officials, both at SSA and at other agencies. Excuse me, at SSA, Charles Borges was the chief data officer for the Social Security Administration. Henceforth, I'll just call it SSA. And he was the person whose job it was to protect the integrity of SSA's data, our data. And in the summer of 2025, what he saw alarmed him. According to a whistleblower complaint, he claimed that DOGE-affiliated employees at the Social Security Administration had requested a copy of the agent's Numident database, the master file of all Social Security card applications in the country, covering more than 300 million people. NPR reported that a copy of this was uploaded to a cloud server on Amazon's web service infrastructure. one that Borges said lacked the independent security controls, monitoring, and oversight. SSA does use Amazon's cloud infrastructure for other purposes, but those systems have a security apparatus, but not the one that DOGE was uploading information to. Career cybersecurity officials within the agency assessed the move as very high risk. An internal risk assessment warned that unauthorized access to the Numadent database would be catastrophic to beneficiaries and SSA programs. Officials even discussed the possibility of having to reissue Social Security numbers to millions of Americans if the server was breached. Borges filed his complaint with Congress and the Office of the Special Counsel. SSA denied his allegations, saying that they were not aware of any compromise to their internal environment, and they remained dedicated to protecting sensitive personal data. Within days, Borges was forced out in late August. He submitted what he called an involuntary resignation. Meanwhile, one of the DOGE employees he had flagged as committing these violations, Aram Mogadassi, was promoted to co-chief information officer at the agency. So this has all come to light now because, like I said, in January there was revised court filing where all of this became known. There were other incidences that go along as part of this pattern. In March of last year, a DOGE team member had sent an encrypted, password-protected file containing the information of 1,000 people to the Department of Homeland Security. This file was copied to a couple of DOGE advisors, and SSA to this day cannot open that file. So they don't know what that file contains and how it might have been used. From March 7th to 17th of last year, DOGE employees were sharing data through links to an unapproved third-party server, one that fell outside the agency's security controls. The agency said it could not determine what data was shared or whether that data still exists on that server. The Washington Post reported that the DOJ's amended filings amounted to a notable reversal of the previous testimony of SSA, claiming that there was no evidence that DOGE had compromised personal data. Privacy law expert Danielle Citron of the University of Virginia told the Post she was flabbergasted by these revelations from last month, calling them a potential violation of the Privacy Act. But the most politically explosive revelation in the revised filing was that there were two DOGE employees at SSA who had secretly entered into what they call a voter data agreement with an unnamed political advocacy group. The goal was to match Social Security data with state voter rolls to find evidence of voter fraud and to overturn election results in certain states. As you know, ever since 2020, Trump has been declaring election fraud for any state he hasn't won, and this was part of this project, even though none of these claims have ever borne out in any degree. The two employees who were said to have done this, they were referred to a federal watchdog for potential violations of the Hatch Act, which bars government employees from using their positions for political activity. Meanwhile, DOGE associate Antonio Gracias appeared at a rally with Elon Musk in Wisconsin in March of last year, claiming that a review of Social Security data matched against voter rolls had found non-citizens who voted. After initially claiming well over 1,000 non-citizen voters in one state and then thousands over several states, Gracias was ultimately forced to pull back on these allegations and acknowledge that only 57 cases were referred to prosecutors and that these individuals may or may not have voted. NPR reported that DHS officials, briefed by the Election Integrity Network, a group run by election denial activist Cleta Mitchell, who had been involved in efforts to overturn the 2020 election. She was briefed on changes to the SAVE system, DHS, their information system, before these changes were announced publicly. The legal battle over DOGE's access to data has been grinding through the courts for nearly a year. A federal judge blocked DOGE's access to SSA data in April of last year, but in June, the Supreme Court overturned it. After the Supreme Court ruling, DOGE employees transferred a live copy of the entire Social Security database into a cloud server. So that was exactly what the whistleblower had warned against right before he resigned. The Washington Post published a major investigation last June, finding that DOGE had secured the power to review records at 7 major departments and agencies containing competitors' trade secrets, non-public details about government contracts, and sensitive regulatory information. The Post raised the question of whether this data could give Musk a competitive advantage in the private sector long after he left his government role. The Justice Department has said it is not currently investigating DOGE and the specific employees who have engaged in these actions. There's a case filed by unions and other interested parties. This is why there was a filing in court. This continues to grind through the courts. We don't know what will happen, but as of right now, like I said, the Justice Department is not investigating DOGE. This court case continues, and SSA cannot say what data was shared and what it was used for. So this is an ongoing crisis, an issue. This is something that we should all be alarmed about. Data privacy and security is one of the top issues of our time. It's one of these issues that has come up with artificial intelligence. We need to protect our data security and privacy right now, and we should be, I know it's tempting. Donald Trump's strategy has always been to flood the zone with outrageous things and force people to respond, to all of them at once. But this is one issue we cannot afford to let go. Obviously, Epstein's important. What ICE is doing is even more important. But look, data security is an issue that will be here for decades. It's part of, how we're going to work out how we incorporate technology in how we run our societies. So I urge people not to lose sight of this issue, not to lose sight of the specific set of violations to our data privacy, and to continue to demand accountability from Trump, from the Republicans in Congress, and, frankly, from anyone in power right now. We should be asking our legislators, what are you doing to protect us? And the answer is, at the moment, not much. So we need to do better. We need to do more. Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you next time around. Bye now.